So tell me what's going on out here.
Well, basically, we're concerned. We've had a long-standing problem with Indian Point. It's proven to be unsafe, but unfortunately, the public at large is not aware of it, or most of the people driving by here, you know, they're in their own comfort zone, and the realities of real life, the machines that we've made are fallible. They break, and Indian Point is a machine that requires perfection in every aspect of its operation, and the track record of Indian Point has been such that we've had a lot of problems that the public is not really aware of. It's leaking radioactive water into the Hudson right now as we speak. It's proven.
It's proven. Can you tell me where I can find that information?
Well, if you log on to GaryNull.com.
How do you spell that?
GaryNull.com. Check out Mishukaku, professor of physics. He's another gentleman who is intimately aware of what's going on in Indian Point. Helen Caldecott, she is a pediatrician who's been involved in the effects of radiation on fetuses. A very highly educated woman, been around for a long time. The main issue, though, is radiation. Radiation leaking from these power plants. And Fukushima is just the tip of the iceberg. We've had a lot of problems in this country in the nuclear industry. If you think about it, why would Con Edison, who used to run Indian Point, okay, for years, why would Con Edison sell Indian Point to Entergy for $1?
Hold on, say that again, please.
Yes. All right. Why would Con Edison sell Indian Point to Entergy for $1? Okay? That's documented. It's out there. Now, here's the thing. Nuclear power is not a viable source economically. It is heavily subsidized by the federal government and taxpayers. It does not support itself. You have the issue of what to do with the wasted fuel once it is spent. Nuclear power is a finite resource, just like oil is.
What do they do with the waste material?
Right now, there is no place to put the waste material but on the plant site itself. Just like in Fukushima, very highly radioactive wasted fuel that is no longer fuel grade to operate in the plant,
right,
is stored on site on the nuclear plant, and it has to be kept cool. It still is physically hot, so they have to cool it with, keep water over that thing. Now the fuel pools, they call them, where they're storing this radioactive waste rods, is leaking into the Hudson River right now as we speak.
So let me ask you a few questions. First off, how many years of waste are we talking about from Indian Point?
Indian Point is pretty close to 40 years old now.
So that's 40 years of spent fuel rods in the fuel pool, you call it?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is typical of all nuclear power plants in the country, as well as Fukushima.
Right, okay.
Fukushima was storing their nuclear waste on site, and that caught on fire, and along with the meltdown that happened inside the plant.
Right.
So they can't deal with it. They can't put it out.
Right.
If that happens here, and, you know, I feel sorry for the Japanese. They're on an island. There's no place to go. But it's even worse here. There's no place to go. Look at all these cars here. If you have a radioactive leak or a fire or a catastrophe, there's no place to go. And you can't really taste or smell radioactive fallout. So that's the insidious part of it.
Okay, so my other question was, how much radioactive material is leaking into the Hudson right now?
Well, it's hard to get a hard answer on that, but we know that the spent fuel pools where they're storing the waste fuel is 1950s. It's like a huge swimming pool from the 50s that has a crack in it, and they can't find the leak. Radioactive water has leaked into the groundwater under Indian Point.
Have they been able to measure it at any radius around Indian Point, including into the Hudson?
Well, I'm not sure on that information, but what I can tell you is that sturgeon have been returning to the river. Okay,
The sturgeon are returning. The
Fish are returning, but on a genetic level, they are regressing, which means that they're not evolving forward, they're evolving backwards, and we believe that the radioactive water in the river itself is having that type of an effect on them. Now, you know, I hear a lot of information, so, you know, like I can't give you chapter and verse and all that, but I've been studying this. I'm an electrician, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I know what electricity and how you generate it in its different forms is all about.
Okay.
You know, and I know some of my colleagues don't like the idea of what I'm saying because it's a paycheck. Okay, but I feel I don't want to be here. It's a beautiful day. You know, I really need to be here holding this thing.
How long have you been holding that sign up?
I'm here for about an hour and a half now.
Hour and a half. Now look at this. The man's holding this sign. Just tell them why it's not tied up to that sign right there.
Yes, concerned citizens that have been driving by here had called the police, and the police, we had our sign tied up to the pole over there, and the police politely came and asked us to untie our signs from the pole as it is town property. But it's still a good sign to see that he didn't tell us to get lost, because he said you can physically hold your sign. So they're not trying to suppress us. We're peaceful. We're just trying to educate the public at large as to what's going on. And basically, you know, I'm just concerned for everybody. You know, it's the future. It's really our future. And so far, you know, people are responding, negative, positive, you know, but at least we're getting some thought out there. People are getting involved.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. So just let us know, give us some information where we can find more information on this. I see you have the number right there. You have a website or anything?
Well, you have to talk to that young lady over there.
Okay.
I'm not involved with the club, with the group she's with. I'm just holding a sign.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your work, sir.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Right there.
All the best.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, it's one of his review cars.
You can talk to her.
Okay, so...
Wait a minute, let him get untangled.
Okay.
Okay, what would you like?
So tell me, what's going on here? I got a good rundown from the man over there. Why are you all out here?
We're out here because Indian Point's a real risk. It's a danger to 20 million people, and we don't need it. You know, some people go by and say, oh, we need the electricity, but we don't. It's 2,000 megawatts, and we don't use all that. They sell it elsewhere. We're only using 560 megawatts from that place, and that's 5%.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, they make the money, and we share the risk.
Wow, so tell me something. He broke down some statistics for me. He said that there was radioactive material coming into the Hudson River.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have any information on this?
Oh, sure. There's lots of information. And the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and Entergy don't deny it. They know it's true. When that plant was built, it was bedrock that had to be blasted, and it fractured the bedrock. They put in an old nuclear power plant called Unit 1 years and years ago, and it was too dangerous to operate, so they closed it down. But the fuel that goes into the reactors, the rods, go into this pool, and it was sitting there at Unit 1. And for years we heard rumors of it leaking, and for years they said, no, can't do it, can't leak, we've got it fixed, we've got it covered. But when they started doing some construction on site, they found that water from that spent fuel pool was leaking, and they could tell where it was coming from because when they analyzed it, that's what was in Unit 1. And that water made its way, and nobody knows for how long it was leaking. Nobody knows how much was leaking, but it all made its way through those cracks in the bedrock. So there's a big lake underneath there filled with water that's seeping. Water finds the lowest point.
Well, say that again. You said a big lake?
It's like a lake, yeah.
It's
underwater. There's a body of water. Now, the NRC and Entergy won't call it a lake, but call it whatever you want to. It's a lot of water that leaked out over the years from that spent fuel pool, right, and that's the water. They have emptied the spent fuel pool now, so the leaking has stopped. But it will be years before all that water makes its way down to the Hudson, and it will go downhill and make its way into the Hudson.
Okay, so
yeah.
Is you filming?
Yeah.
Are you filming?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
That's all I want to know.
Oh. Okay. So you have no idea how much radiation is in the Hudson or could be in the Hudson at this point?
so. Nobody knows. They say, oh, not to worry, no danger to the public. It's all under regulatory concern, under regulatory levels, below regulatory concern. That's what they call it.
Okay. All right.
ERC.
Right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Any last words you want to give us?
Yeah. If anybody sees this tape, I hope that they will go tell their friends and neighbors. And I hope that they will go tell their elected officials, pick up the phone and call them. Tell them you want Indian Point closed. And show them that number. Because if anybody wants to know any more, anybody wants a speaker, call the Indian Point Safe Energy Coalition. I can't tell people what to do, but I can sure encourage everybody to do something.
And you said that was the Indian Point Safe Energy Coalition?
Indian Point Safe Energy Coalition, IPSEC,
All right.
IPSEC.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.